All right, this is an interesting title. Lions get bad news after win versus Colts. And I get that. I get that it's an interesting title. And I get if you watch this game, it felt kind of like, oh man, we didn't really play as well as we should have. And that will tell you how good this team really is. Because when we look at the box score in a second, when we look at the yardage, when we look at how clean we played this game, you're going to realize that we played a really, really good football game against a pretty good Indianapolis Colts team on the road. We're now 6-0 on the road, by the way. So there's going to be a lot of good news in this game, but I also need to talk about the bad news. Because as I'm watching this game, as we're kind of pretty comfortable. Weren't you comfortable during this whole game? Answer me that question. Was there any point that you were uncomfortable during this game? Or you can answer, at what point did you know and were you confident like, yep, that's it. We're going to win this game. I'm not even worried about it anymore. I'm curious to see kind of what everybody has to say about that. But with all that being said, I do find it very interesting because when I was watching this game, and me and Chris, actually, you know Chris, the other guy on this channel, all right, maybe I'm the other guy on this channel. Well, yeah, it's probably me. But anyways, with that being said, we were texting back and forth trying to decide, are we going to go live? Are we going to just do a video afterward? What does that look like? We have a vertical men night tonight at our church. So anyways, I'm putting in a quick video here, but here's my thing. And here's the question that I kept asking myself is, why do we keep getting injuries in these games that were up big? It's so hard to watch. Like, it's really, really hard to watch. And there was one injury in particular that I think really is going to decimate us, and it's because of watching what happened in place of another player. So let's get into that in just a second. But here are the injuries, and then we'll get into the box score and all that kind of stuff. All right, Taylor Decker got hurt. Now, he came back into the game, which is great. So he's back into the game. You would think that he'll be healthy for next week, but on the really short week, that is why these injuries piled up even more. Because if a player can't come back for that game, like if the player couldn't come back during the game against the Colts, the likelihood that they'd be able to come back by Thursday against the Bears was highly unlikely. A Bears team, by the way, that got some serious life. They got some serious life against the Vikings. They just lost in overtime. By the way, that's good news for us because now the Bears might even be more tired than we are. I don't know how banged up they got. I don't think they got that banged up. But so Decker goes down, he comes back. That's great, but how is he going to be for Thursday? Super important against a very stout Bears defense to have a full offensive line in there. We really, really need it. All right. Then you see Collie Freeman go down. On a return, like everything's going well. Apparently he hurt his foot. That's not a good sign. All right. That is not a good sign. And I think people don't realize how important he is to this team, whether it's the screen game to the wide receiver, whether it's a little bit of blocking, but mostly just the kick and punt returns and how he just settles everything in that. He settles everything. He keeps everything nice and calm. And he is the guy who takes it. I trust Amon-Ra St. Brown to catch every single punt that comes his way. I do. But I do not want him returning punts. You saw him absolutely get leveled. In fact, me and Chris were texting, and he goes, I trust Amon-Ra St. Brown with my life to catch punts. And I'm like, but do you trust him not to get hurt? Then he just got blitzed, and then you could tell he hurt his leg a little bit. So Collie Freeman is out. I think there is absolutely no way he's back for the Bears game, and unlikely the game after that too, if we're being completely honest. All right, so unlikely for the game after that too. So that is kind of rough. And the other thing that you have to remember, we play the Packers pretty quickly after. I believe it's a Thursday night game, so we don't get that little semi-bye week just yet, which is frustrating. We do get it going into the Bills, but that's another thing that you have to think about. Then David Montgomery gets hurt on a seemingly harmless play. He immediately knows something's wrong. He calls the trainers over or he calls for a player to come and get there. Next thing you know, pads are off. He's going into the locker room. Now, good news, he did come back onto the field, and he didn't actually play. Gibbs ended up carrying the rest of the carries, carrying the load. But the question you have to ask yourself is, does he have the ability to come back by Thursday? We'll know more about that very quickly on this very short week. And then comes the most difficult, all right, the most difficult injury that we had, in my opinion, because Gibbs can tote the rock extra next week. No big deal. Monty can come back. Maybe it's an AC joint sprain. Maybe it's, I don't know what it is, right? But Monty can tote it. Callie Freeman, Jamison Williams can fill in his place on the offensive side, and then we can find somebody to return punts. But Carlton Davis, okay? Here's one thing that I was going to say when I was looking at our corners. Terrion Arnold's better than I thought, because when you watch Kindle Vildor in a start try and run with any wide receiver that the Colts threw at him, it was bad. I mean, he looked bad. So the questions that I'm asking are the following. If Davis is hurt, first, is Terrion Arnold back? Is he going to be healthy? Were they holding him out this week as a precaution to know, all right, we'll play him Thursday? Because it was looking like he was trending toward coming back. He got a full practice in on Friday. Like, you'd think he was going to be back, but then yesterday we get the news that he wasn't going to play for Terrion Arnold. So is he going to be back? If he's not, you're looking at an outside cornerback room against the Bears of Kindle Vildor and Khalil Dorsey. We've lived in that world before, and I don't think that we want to be playing in a shootout against anybody anytime soon. That's just where it's at, especially if we got some guys banged up, if Taylor's not at 100%, if Monty's banged up. We already have so many players injured. So many players injured that you have to say to yourself, like, all right, what's next? Like, what is next? So the questions I have, is Emmanuel Moseley ready? We activated him off of his window. Can he play? Like, can Emmanuel Moseley come back and play corner for us? Because he's got to be better than what Vildor did. Also, Khalil Dorsey has got to be better. Got to be better. All right, in all of this, Enos Rakestraw, I believe, was put on IR. Nobody really talked about it. He was put on IR. This defense is so banged up that it really has me worried about what these next few weeks look like. Got to get a win against the Bears. Got to. Hate the Bears. Hate the Bears. And I'm happy because my family is going down to Disney World here this week, which is going to be fun, I hope, right? So at least if we have a problem against the Bears, I don't have to look at the Bears fans that live in West Michigan and their smug little faces, all right, when they're proud of getting their 4th or 5th win of the season, when we're going to be, But anyways, I still feel good about that game, but what does this defense look like? What does this defense look like? Can we get healthy enough to be there? And by the way, Carlton Davis had a non-contact injury. That's not a good sign. And if he's gone for the year and Enos Rakestraw is already on IR, then that means that you are going to have one of Amik Robertson, Emmanuel Moseley, if he can get healthy enough, Vildor or Dorsey on the opposite side of Terrion Arnold. It completely changes this defense, all right? It completely changes this defense. Carlton Davis was really playing well, like really well the last month to month and a half, like really well. And so it's going to be hard to see what that looks like. Anyways, that's the bad news coming off the game. Overall, like, of course we're happy. We're 10-1, first time since 1934. And tomorrow, look for a video where I talk about really good news, because one of the hardest things that I hate, what I disliked about the game coming up against the Bears is the specific matchup on a short week, but we got a cheat code. All right, make sure you check into that video tomorrow. See you on the next one.